But first of all, we have the pleasure of introducing you to the new director of the Tacoma Public Libraries, Kate Larsen, and welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
So first of all, probably what everybody wants to know is what brought you to Tacoma?
Well, the city and the job brought me to Tacoma. I was up in Everett for the past 11 years as the assistant director there. Was looking for an opportunity for professional growth, but I knew I didn't want to live in Seattle, and I knew I didn't want to go north. I knew I didn't want to leave the state. So my options were kind of limited, but luckily for me, the Tacoma Public Library Director position came open, and I got it. So I'm really happy to be here.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about your experience and background and how that prepared you for the new job here in the city of Tacoma.
Sure. As I said, I was assistant director at the Everett Public Library for the past 11 years, which is a very similarly structured library to the Tacoma Public Library. It's a municipal library, so it's structured the same way. I started my career at the New York Public Library. I went to Pratt Institute where I got my MLS, my library degree, as we say. After that, I moved to Northern Nevada and stayed there for a couple of years. And it just moving from New York to Northern Nevada was a little bit of a shock for me, and it turned out to not be a very good fit. And again, luckily, the assistant director position opened up in Everett. And so I was lucky to get that and stayed there for 11 years. So I have 20 years of experience working in public libraries and primarily in municipal public libraries that has prepared me to take this position.
Excellent. Now you've been here just right around 30 days.
Yeah.
What's your assessment so far of the Tacoma Public Library system?
Well, it's a fantastic library system, and the staff in particular are so wonderful. They are so excited and eager to do some community outreach, which we'll probably talk about just a little bit later. They are just amazing. They're just so enthusiastic and welcoming, and it's obviously a great staff is what makes a great library. So I feel really lucky to be able to work with such a great group of people. And also at the city as well. There's a lot of new energy everywhere in the city, and it feels like the library is well positioned to be a part of that.
Now, if you step back and think about what libraries were 20 years ago, and then compare that with the hoppin' place that you guys call a library today, tell us the main differences.
Well, you know, it's interesting. That's when I started my career in libraries, was 20 years ago. And even back then, people were, saying to me, our library is still relevant. And here we are 20 years later, and libraries are still going strong. Yes, I think there are differences in the way that we deliver service and the way that we respond to our communities. And I think the biggest distinction is that we are responsive to our communities. And so we're about community, we're about civic engagement, we're about being welcoming to everybody. So no matter if you're 0 years old and you're coming to our story times that are secretly kind of geared towards early literacy so that you're going to arrive to preschool or kindergarten ready to learn, or if you're someone who is wanting to start a business, or if you're a teenager who is learning to love to read and become a global citizen, if you're a senior citizen who is losing your sight maybe and you need to listen to books in order to continue to be able to read, we're here for everyone. And that's really what I think has given libraries staying power, is that we continue to be responsive and reflective to the communities that we serve.
Nice. Now you talked about community outreach. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts there.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that libraries are really making sure that they're doing now, is instead of being kind of inward facing and focusing a lot on how the organization itself is running, we're going out to people and finding out not really so much about what they might want from a library, because if you ask people what they want from a library, they'll most likely say something like they want more DVDs or they want more computers, and we know that we are more than that. And what we really want to know is what are what is the community's aspirations? What are the barriers to those aspirations? And where does a library intersect those things? And how can we help the community become what it wants?
So as we look forward for the Tacoma Public Libraries, what's your vision? I mean, I know it's early. So,
It is early.
So you're going to be developing that, but initially, what's your vision for the Tacoma Public Libraries?
Well, my vision is that the Tacoma Public Library will become reflective of Tacoma. We are Tacoma's library, and we want to be serving it in the best way possible. So what we're going to be doing, hopefully as early as April, is going out and doing community outreach sessions. So we'll be having sessions inside the libraries, of course, but we'll be trying to go as many places as possible, to as many organizations as possible, to as many communities as possible, to talk to people and hear from them what their interests are. So then that's where we're going to start to develop our vision, so that it reflects what Tacoma wants. Certainly there are some organizational things that are necessary inside the organization that I need to address, but those aren't, exciting vision types of things. I would like to see some of our spaces change a little bit and be more welcoming for people, but in general, I'm trying not to make assumptions before I hear from a lot more people than I've had a chance to hear from in the first 30 days.
Sure, sure. Now, the one of the many benefits that you bring to the organization is the experience that you've had in those 3 other types of systems, New York and Nevada and in Everett. So, to your vision, I mean, sometimes it's sharing with people that don't necessarily know that those types of things are available. So that's
right.
Kind of a good mix there.
That's right. I mean, certainly, as I said, people are still using libraries. We're still busy, but that doesn't mean that there's not a large swath of the population out there that doesn't use us for whatever reason, and we want to know why, and we want to know how we can reach them.
Sure. Now, how does, you talked about books, like listening to books and story time, for the preschool and things. I mean, to me, when I hear those things, it begs the question: is the building space that we have, does it have to be modified to accommodate the new needs of the new type of library?
I think so. And certainly the trend in libraries now is to build flexible spaces so that we continue to be able to adjust as technology changes. But at the same time, we're hearing more and more about how the public is just simply really craving spaces for civic engagement, and the library is in a perfect position to do that. And in fact, we've been doing that for years and years and years and years. So I do think that buildings are going to continue to be a place where libraries will exist, but I do also think that there are probably many other iterations of what a library can look like. I've already been talking to people about what would a library inside a community center look like, or what would a library inside of an affordable housing unit look like, and there are models for that already throughout the country, and those are ideas we would like to explore.
Sure. What about volunteering? I understand that there's a fairly large volunteer base for the libraries, maybe, and from seeing it at the library up in Proctor, and are those important things for libraries to have? And
the biggest volunteer opportunity that we have, I think, is with the Friends of the Library. They're a fledgling group. They just formed a few years ago.
Oh.
And that is really a place where anybody interested in libraries can put their efforts. So it's anything from fundraising to, maybe helping do a quick cleanup on a Sunday morning on the grounds, that kind of thing. They're really designed to be supporters of the library in ways that the city just simply can't. So, for example, summer reading is one of our biggest and most important activities that libraries do. we have giveaways for summer reading. So even if we have a book that we want to give away to every child that completes the program, we can't buy those books with city funds. We need to buy them with privately raised funds. Otherwise, it would be gift of public funds. So
Sure.
Friends of the Library can be really effective in the way that they can help libraries move forward and be innovative.
Great. Well, down to our final couple minutes here, Kate. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.
If you have a message to the public here in Tacoma, just a short thought as you leave us today, what would that be?
Come talk to us. And if you can't come talk to us, please invite me to come talk to you. I want to hear from everybody.
Great.
Yeah.
And there's 8 libraries throughout?
There are 8 libraries, including the main library, yeah.
Throughout the city?
Throughout the city, yep.
And is there a short list of resources you have available?
Oh, well, we have something for everyone. So whatever it is that that one is wanting to do, whether you're wanting to start a new hobby or, like I said, start a new business, or if you want to learn more about how to encourage literacy in your child, come talk to us. We can help you.
Great. Well, once again, thank you for joining us today. Kate Larsen, the new director of the Tacoma Public Library System, and we look forward to having you back for an update in 90 days or 120, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll be back on CityLine here, and next up, we'll talk about the history of Tacoma's parks. Please stay with us.